music was so impacting for both Robert and I. And like you mentioned earlier, there was so much music flying around the house, and I was just, bitten by it, man. Like really, really bitten by it, and I just loved. I not only loved, guitar music, whether it was electric music or acoustic. I loved it all. You think, man, back when my mom would take me like clothes shopping for back to school or whatever, we'd go out on a mystery ride. My mom loved taking mystery rides. You could put on AM radio in 73 and hear Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Heart of Gold, Wild Horses, something by Al Green, Carole King. It was like, it was an incredible era for music. And man, Robert and I put a nipple right on it and sucked on that for a while.
Suckled from the teat that was variety of music.
Variety of AM radio teat.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, and you could hear it in a lot of the S.T.P music, that there are elements that you wouldn't normally hear in rock, where it was like, oh, those chord progressions are different, or that tone is different. And that was your influence from your household, correct?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we were really subjected to a lot of music, and Robert has a real love for bossa nova, and Robert's knowledge of chords is far more expansive than mine, and he's responsible for the bigger songs in the band, Interstate, Plush, things like that. My writing's a little more rudimentary, but yeah, man, it's look, we're just fans of music, and I really allow a certain type of music to yank out a certain type of feeling from me. Like sometimes I will, if I do listen to music, which I don't a lot, but if I do, I want to feel something. I want to be in a mood, and if I'm in this kind of mood, I want to, bring myself that much closer to that. Whether it's melancholic or sad or just whatever, I'll find a song that'll take me deeper into that.
Right. I mean, it's like Aaron said to me yesterday, I really could just use a good cry.
Yeah, I say that often.
Aaron,
do you cry, Dean?
If I was there, I'd give you a nice hug.
Huh.
Do you cry? Are you a crier?
You know what? There's a word for this. It's called frisson, French word, F-R-I-S-S-O-N. And what that word means is when somebody gets emotional over a song, like goosebumps will appear. And music will sometimes bring tears to my eyes.
I get that. By the way, not to be a downer, I went to a funeral on Sunday, and
Thanks,
my
downer.
friends... Yeah, my friend's father passed away. But that part wasn't sad to me. The sad part was the 7-year-old daughter of my friend got up to talk about how much she missed her grandfather, and I cried. I could not handle watching this little 7-year-old girl just talking about how much she missed her dad. Her grandpa. It was awful. Let's get a little less depressing right now if we get. So your brother's the one that moved out to California first. You came a little bit later. Scott, I believe, had a band, and I could be wrong with this. Was it called like So Descent or something?
Croix Descent.
And that was his first band, and Robert came in. They changed the name, I think, to Swing. Correct. Is that right also?
That's
okay.
Correct. You are
and
on.
Then at some point, they need a guitarist. The guitarist they had didn't really work out right, and they say to you, hey, come on in and do this. Is that about right?
Well, they changed the name after Swing to Mighty Joe Young.
Right, which we'll get into that as well, which is, so you came in and they were already Mighty Joe Young.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that. Okay, which
Great
is,
name.
as those people may or may not know, you had to change the name because some dude had the name, some musician had it already, and you were about to go to print. Like the things are on the wall, you're looking at the artwork, you're like, this looks good, and your lawyer, Eric Greenspan, calls you and says, hey, we have to change the name.
Yeah, we were in our artist loft, Kevin Hossman, and we had all the artwork laid out. We're in his, studio, and we're like thrilled and like, oh gosh, this looks great. And, our first album was pretty monumental and exciting for us. And Kevin walks, he goes, Dean, phone's for you. And it's our lawyer, as you said, Eric Greenspan. He goes, you got to change the name of the band. We're like, what? There was a blues artist it wasn't because of the movie. It was because there was a blues artist out of Chicago that had the name before we were born.
That's wild. And then also, you just liked the logo S.T.P. And I think it was you that first suggested it, but Scott thought the sticker was cool. And you and Scott were living together at the time. And somehow you hobbled together the name Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
Didn't really mean anything.
Well, that's what I brought up to Scott. I was like, oh, man, that sticker. It was like, the sticker you coveted to have on the bottom of your skateboard or on your banana seat. And I said, people will call us STP. We just got to come up with 3 words, STP. And Shirley Temple's Poontang didn't seem appropriate. So,
by the way, we're going to play a game at the end of the show that is related to that. But then am I right? Because I heard this, and I don't know if this is true, but that original Mighty Joe Young record that it got delayed, and it finally came out. It sold, I don't know, like 8-10 million copies, whatever it sold. But was it true that there were some songs that were very different, like some funk aspects? There was even some yodeling on it, or is that not true?
That was before I joined. That was back in Wing days. That was kind of before I joined. What had happened, those guys got like $5,000 from this label called Savage Records.
Mm-hmm.
And, they needed a couple solos done. And Robert was like, let's just call my brother and he'll come up and play it. So that's kind of what kicked it all off.
$5,000?
Yeah, well, 5,000 then is probably like 15,000 now, right?
It's still not good.
Well,
yeah, but to guys that are living in their car, that was good.
And then right after this $5,000 thing, the album blows up. Is that like overnight?
No, they didn't do anything. This was with a label.
That was for Mighty Joe Young, right? That was from
Mighty Joe Young. It was a little label called Savage, and nothing panned out with it.
Did that demo with the yodeling and the funk survive anywhere? Is that something that you have?
I don't have a copy of it. No.
And then I love this story. You said that you guys were performing at the Shamrock, which I don't think exists anymore. But there were 8 people at the audience, and 6 of them worked there, which is a great line. But this guy, Tom Callan from Atlantic, happened to be one of the 2 other people, and that's how the band gets signed to Atlantic Records.
That's
just
true.
by some happening to be there at a show where you were performing most of what would end up on Core.
Exactly. We actually opened that show with Sin. It was instrumental. We didn't have any vocals to it yet, but we were like, so thrilled about that song. And it just had this element of, darkness about it. And another one Robert wrote. And so we opened with that. But what had happened, Don Muller, who was our agent for a little while, told Tom to go see us. He had seen us somewhere in Los Angeles. And so Tom came out and saw us. And, he was like, wow, if these guys play like this with 5 people in the joint, because we were just went out there and played like it was our last day on earth.